My name is Jesse Aguilar. I do want to first thank all of you for attending, and I want to send my condolences to the family of Heather Heyer, who was killed yesterday while protesting against the hate that came to Charlottesville, and to the families of Lieutenant H. Cullen and Trooper Burke M.M. Bates, who were killed in a helicopter crash while monitoring the protest. What we saw yesterday wasn't new. It wasn't unique. It wasn't novel. It certainly wasn't a group of underrepresented and disenfranchised individuals lawfully assembling to demand the rights and freedoms promised by our democracy. It was terrorism. It was a terrorist act with the sole purpose of instilling fear into anyone who has the audacity to believe that we should all be equal under our country's flag, who have the audacity to believe that the American promise is a promise made to all of us, and who have the tenacity to fight every day towards the realization of that promise. I've been a teacher here in Bakersfield for 24 years. I'm proud of my profession, and I'm proud to call myself a teacher because I know that there is nothing more fundamental to our democracy than education. I know that there is no institution more foundational than our public education system. I know that the most basic and most philosophically acute underpinning of public education is that we teach every child. The public school doors are open to all colors, faiths, beliefs, orientations, and cultural traditions. It's an evolved principle, a principle reaching toward the promise of democracy, a promise still unrealized for large segments of our population. We live in a country where the systems, practices, and outcomes of our educational institutions are directly connected to our prison populations. A country where suspensions and expulsions in high school have a direct connection to mass incarceration, and where brown and black students are significantly more likely to be suspended or expelled than their white counterparts. You can either accept the premise that those kids are somehow prone to bad behavior and will inevitably end up in prison, or you come to the realization that there is something systematically wrong. That the way we treat kids of color, or kids who are gay, or kids who suffer from trauma is different from the way we treat other kids. Charlottesville is an example of the visible aspect of racism that shocks us when manifested. It reminds us of our racial history and prompts us to mobilize and act. But the more insidious nature of racism is that it is endemic. It exists within our institutions and our systems. It exists in our schools, colleges, and universities. And in order to stop it out, we must fight it locally. We must attend local school and college board meetings and refuse to tolerate policies that are fundamentally wrong and racially discriminatory. The people with the torches chanting blood and soil want you to believe that some kids are less. I ask you to resist that ideology. Every child has worth, every child can learn, and all children have a fundamental human right to dignity. I ask you to make a commitment to working together and to help secure the promise of our democracy, the promise that prompted Heather Heyer yesterday to get up and march. Thank you.